Welcome to Season 2 of Why Your Business is Invisible Online. This season, we focus on the dramatic change artificial intelligence is having on your online visibility. Joining me are my two co-hosts, and here they are.
Hi, this is Jim Filatico. I'm currently obsessed with planning my next beach adventure for my whole family.
Hi, I'm Kelly Biggs. We're talking about AI this season. I'm wondering, can I get an AI agent to clean my house?
And I'm your host, John Manatis, still glued to my guitar, but with my new band planning our next tour. Okay, gang, we're back again for another episode. Excited about this one. But before we dive into what we want to talk about today, I thought we'd just pick up on how things are going in our lives. And Jim, I know in your opening you talk about you were planning your next, I don't know if it's a beach trip or a huge trip, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about how your planning's going, what's happening. And one thing that leads up into what we're going to talk about. Are you one of those travelers who likes to, let the algorithm do a lot of the heavy lifting for you in advance? Or do you, set up your own little spreadsheet, figure out the itinerary? Are you the man on that front? Or maybe even somebody else in the family does that work? But yeah. What are they using when it comes to planning your trip these days?
Well, my algorithm is my wife and my daughters figuring out what they want to do.
And smart man.
Yeah, exactly. And the different personalities and the different age groups. So, we've got grandkids and my kids are older. And so everyone wants to do something differently. And so that's what makes it really interesting. But yeah, we've found a place. We're going for a week to Sunset Beach, North Carolina, which is where we lived for a bit. And so we found a place there that is close to the beach, has a pool, has outdoor space. Now, this is all about the algorithm, right? Restaurants are nearby. It comes with whatever utensils and all that. I mean, all that stuff that comes into building this vacation. New this year is the beach now charges for parking, which it didn't before. So that's going to be interesting with kids' toys and tents and coolers and towels and all that stuff. So I'm going to be the valet going back and forth to the beach, I'm sure. But we've got it pretty well settled in. One daughter, I think, is going to fly in because she can't get off the amount of time that she needs to. So just more interesting additions to the details that have to be worked out. But we're definitely looking forward to it. My older daughter is in education. My wife is a consultant in education. So their years start in August, September, and end in June. Mm-hmm. So they're looking forward to this vacation more probably than everybody else. So
cool. And then so when they were planning this, since they're the planners, like in the past, I know I always used to just use Google and search a whole bunch of websites. I don't know if you were looking over their shoulder when they were planning, but were they using AI or were they using checking out websites, figuring out?
They expect Dad to do all that.
They
give me their ideas, their concepts. I have to make sure that I understand what the hell they're saying.
Okay.
And understand it, and then do my own research.
The question is, how often are you right?
Not very often. Not very often, but. But depending on who pays, then that they get more power. So that does help me a bit.
Cool.
In this situation, because we lived there before, there's less research required. Mm-hmm. More about where we're staying was the big thing. Mm-hmm. We knew of places, but because we had a home there, it was a lot easier just to kind of them show up. Now we all have to travel there, and so just this actually worked out as more word of mouth and stuff. I didn't have to do as much research.
Oh, okay. So that helped. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do about I know I always have these issues because eating's a big deal for my family, all six of us actually. And the good news is that we have similar tastes in our palates, so it doesn't lead to big arguments in terms of what we're going to eat. But in terms of planning the spots where you guys are going to eat and stuff, again, with research, how are you picking the spots? How are you finding them? Are you using AI to just give you the top 3 in, pizza joints? Or
are we going to Yelp or
yeah,
what?
Yeah,
Are you just, I've been here enough times that I already know.
Yeah, that's basically what it is for this one. Although, sadly, some restaurants have closed, some new have opened up.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you know what I mean.
Okay.
So you have to do that. So we'll use it more when we get there. As it turns out, as long as that's chicken nuggets for the and
That's a
and we
win.
we like fresh seafood and more casual. That's what we'll end up doing. But yeah, it definitely will be a game time decision because kids need naps and people are tired or they get sunburned or whatever. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I'm finding for food stuffs. I'm tending to lean more. I still type it in. I'm not using voice as much as some of my buddies are, but I tend to start using. I'm starting to use AI more. Just tell me what the best 3 are in this area. I don't want to search 20 websites and find them and read all about them and things like that. I might go look at some reviews if they give me a top 2.
You're not afraid it's going to hallucinate? I mean,
I'm rolling the dice. Yeah.
Right. I'm not trusting it for that. If it's local, I don't rely on AI as much for those type of searches. For me, I still want to just go to Google and I just want the map pack. For me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's local, okay.
Or Yelp.
Yeah.
Or Yelp.
Yelp. Yeah, Yelp's another big one.
Actually, I use social because, it's 5:30, 6 o'clock. We're both exhausted, and it's like, okay, it's either cheese and crackers again, or let's go out. And it's like, okay, what specials are out this week? So I'll go to social and look at some of our favorite restaurants and see what their specials are.
Yeah.
And me being cheap, that's what I do. If Taco Tuesdays are, great or whatever. So
it's funny you say
for
social because something hit my feed the other day and I thought it got me. It was like, here are the top 5 worst Black-owned restaurants in Atlanta. And so I was like, oh, wow. And so you start to listen to it and it's like, don't go here because the food is amazing and it's it's kind of like they serve your food on time. The service is amazing. You don't want. So anyway, it was a clever hook because I was like, I might try it.
As long as you're willing to click through it, yeah.
Right, and so it was still user generated content, right? It was and I know we'll get into that actually, John, if you want to.
That was a good little intro. So thanks for that, Jim. Thanks for everybody pitching in on that because it's all about what we're going to be talking about today, which is we know AI impact has made a massive impact in a number of areas, but this is one of the biggest ones. Today is all about talking about the impact it's made on social. It's made on visual searches. It has made a massive impact on voice searches. So now what was this smaller universe of getting found, now the universe is expanded dramatically. And today is all about that and the nuances that come from visual searches and voice searches now and where we can go with that. And there's a lot to unpack here. So why don't we just dive in? That was a good intro. Let's start with visual searches because I think those are fun. A lot of us have played with that already, and I think there might be some interesting examples here. Google Lens is an example of one that's pretty hot these days. People snapping signs or product tags. Products are a big one, obviously, but images are so important now. So I want to start with Jim. What's the last time you might have used a photo instead of words to find something that you really were looking for? Maybe talk about that.
It's interesting you ask because this morning, while I was on another meeting, I got an image sent to me from my wife for a pair of Adidas.
Samba was it?
Sambays, I think it is.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell. And so I got the image and now it's my job to seek them out with the size and the color she wants and buy them. I'm not sure why that's my job, but it turns out to be my job. So I didn't even take the image. It was sent to me by a text. So now I've got to deal with that. But yeah, that was just this morning. But we are using it more and more. We've talked about moving into our new house over the last couple of years. So adding landscaping, all those kind of things. You can take a picture of you walk on a walk, you take a picture of a flower or a bush or whatever and say, that would look in the yard, and you figure out what it is based on that and then go from there. So, but yeah, the latest one, there's my wife's new tennis shoes.
Nice. Kelly, how about you? Where are you seeing visual search like take off, whether it's in, retail or in, repair ideas, or maybe even anything else that's happening in your world?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's taken off across all three of the three that you specifically mentioned. But one I see, and for us, again, like Jim, a real world example is, I know I told you guys I own a vending machine business. And so one of the things that we bought was this, when we were getting trained, they were like, you need this dolly system. And somebody had this 4-in-1 dolly system. And so like, meaning I could lay it flat, I could turn it upright. And I don't even remember what the other two features are because I don't really use them. But I do like the idea of laying it flat depending on where I'm trying to get in and out of. Anyway, so I used a picture and then searched and found all the places that could do it. And then, then you end up in like Google Shop or Amazon Shop. And some of them, the smart vendors, which we ended up going to a vendor we hadn't even heard of before because they sold them and it was at a great price point. But then as a turn of events, like a wheel dropped off the other day. And Ryan's like, where did you get it from? And, we're hoping it was from one of the usual suspects. And I'm like, no, I did. It's some other company that I'm not sure of. And so anyway, but he was like, well, we're not going to replace it. I just need the screw. So he took a picture of the screw, right? And then got an idea of like what it was and was able to then go to a hardware store and we were able to fix the screw, and then it's working well again. And that's for parts. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah.
I think another example is it's always, like Jim alluded to, retail is obviously huge. People are snapping outfits and shoes, even packing. Packaging kind of works to find like where you can buy it, right? And so what I see, and I would say, cosmetics is a good play for it. Like you guys probably can't appreciate, but finding that right color of red lipstick is so important. And when you see somebody with it, you're like, okay, what's this? Give me this color because this is the one that I want. What's the most close? Like those use cases are huge, I think. And so wherever you have something physical that you want people to be able to identify, visual search is, in my opinion, becoming the right shortcut.
Yeah. I had an example recently where our fridge was on the fritz. It actually caused some major, like there was a leak in the back, caused some major damage in the room that houses all of my. I know I talk about my music a lot, but that houses like my guitars and the drums and stuff. Thankfully, it didn't touch any of that stuff. It was in the so it leaked from my kitchen, but it dripped right into that room that's in the basement. Anyway, so I called a good friend of mine from our BNI group. And he comes in, he opens up the back of the fridge and he finds this. He goes, here's the problem. And I said, what is that? Because it was this huge part. It wasn't a small little piece. It was a massive part. It had all these colored mini parts built into it. And I said, where are you going to find one of these? He said, watch. And literally, he just took a picture of it, connected with Amazon, and literally in seconds, it actually gave him a choice of different prices too. And he said, oh, we don't need to spend money on this. He says, watch this one. He goes, this will be here tomorrow. I'm going to get it to come to your house. And basically it's only going to cost you like $50. It was coming from Mexico, I think. And literally it all worked out perfectly. Came out the next day, fixed my fridge, no issues whatsoever. I had never seen that before. Fridge repairs in my place were like minimum $400.
Yeah.
Every time. So I'm amazed as to how quickly he solved the problem.
It's interesting that a professional, right, does that, where he's not looking up a schematic or whatever. They just take a picture. I mean,
Yeah.
timing that it saves, as long as you do it and you trust that it's going to be the right one, which obviously he does since he's done it in the past. That's great.
Yeah, that worked
Right.
out. That worked out really well. And these are some of the things that we're dealing with in the world of visual search. The structure we're going to use today is talk about the concept and what's going on. Then we're going to look at so what? And so this is happening. What's the response? And then now what? What are we going to do about it? So I think that's a good structure for all our discussions today. So I want to start with you, Kelly. So why do you think visual search matters so much for product-based businesses? And maybe that's an obvious answer, but I think there's some nuances there.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat obvious, but I'm not sure that everybody's thought through it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about it I think it's an advantage actually for product-based businesses because your product is now your business. And so people don't, just like when we're talking about that, like go back to my example of the 4-part dolly. I remember what it was. I can't tell you even today what brand I use, and I literally see it every day, right? I cannot tell you who, because it's the functionality, but what I know is like I like what it did. I like that I can, that's one use. You can adjust the height, right?
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah, which is nice when you're pulling it.
Between you and Rowan.
Yeah, you guys are tall. Yeah,
We're
really tall.
taller, so it's important to us.
Yeah.
It's still almost like having, a piece of luggage where you're still having to dip just a little bit, but it's still important. But if what you're trying to get me to do when I'm at a product base and I'm snapping a picture, I'm probably high intent, and you putting that out there for me and making it easier for me to find you makes sense, right? And so I just think that's where things are going. And that visual search to me is like the modern version of window shopping,
Yeah.
right? But so instead of it being window shopping, it's really happening on your phone and on your screen. So if you're a business and you're thinking about your products, it almost makes it a little more complicated because in addition to your overall brand, you do need to think about who wants this product and how do I position it and how do I make it very visual for them to see themselves in it and buy straight away.
Mm-hmm. Jim, what have you seen in terms of like businesses? Are they out there now, to Kelly's point, are they out there really looking at photography now becoming a huge part of the strategy? It always was part of it now, but now you have to look at it a little differently, knowing that there are tools like Google Lens out there and available to people, and they're just going to grow. The usage of Google Lens is going to obviously grow dramatically. It already has. So are you hearing more about, companies really embedding that directly into their strategy now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can remember back in the day on Amazon, you'd see black and white schematics of products, and it's come a long way. And I think even, I was going to say B2C definitely have, and B2B, it's been slower, but I think they have adopted it only because they realize that picture's worth 1,000 words, and people, when they're using a certain product or a competitive product and they see the image that looks similar to or identical to what they're using, it makes it much more comfortable, and it helps them trigger a purchase as opposed to a description. So those images are really important, whether it's on social or their website or Amazon or whatever else. I mean, it's critical that those pictures work, and they're realizing that it's gone from, like I said, that schematic to a picture to a 3D. To a video now. You see a lot of videos that just spin around the products. You can see all sides or whatever. So yeah, they're realizing it. And there's obviously technical aspects to make sure that it's optimized, but they're definitely realize that the images are critical.
On that, Kelly, I know you talk a lot about the importance of brand now with this in this AI impacted world that we're in now. Are you finding that companies are trying to do things with their imagery now to become more consistent in how they present it, so that eventually it becomes an integral part of who they are, of their brand. So when you look at the imagery, you say, oh, that must be this company because they always do their imagery this way, versus another one which does it very differently, but they stand out for that reason. Are companies using their imagery in this way to be a bit more strategic?
Yeah, I'm not sure all companies are, to be honest, but I think all companies should. Like if we get down to it, what's important is it's all about repetition and recognition. Now, we've all heard it takes 7 touches before somebody acts on a brand, often called the 7-touch rule, right? Visual consistency helps you kind of rack up those touches a little bit faster if you're a product-based brand. If you're a service-based brand, I think brand has always been important in images. And I think they do a little bit better job, in my opinion, with it because they understand the importance. But let's go back to what you were saying, which is that when you're posting images or you're doing images, if you follow like a recognizable style, like where your logo is in the same place, your colors, your angles, your tone, it creates kind of what I would coin as like a visual signature. Yeah. Right. That starts, and the more it starts to stick with people. So like take us through a buyer journey. Maybe they see you on Instagram, for instance, and then they see your packaging, same packaging that they saw on Instagram in a store. See a customer post about it, like a user-generated post. And later, maybe they see the similar product on like a Google Lens. Well, that's 4 brand touches all tied together that they are going to associate with you and your brand, not just the usability like I talked about before. So here's a part that I think most people are missing when it comes to this. If you think about Google, Instagram, Pinterest, they're all getting really smarter about these images. And I would probably say this is true of AI, though I don't know it definitively to be true with AI search. But if you're consistent, you're not just building like brand awareness, but you're also helping the algorithm to connect the dots here too, so that it makes it more discoverable. You're being more trustworthy, and it's going to get you more conversions.
Yeah. So your brand signature is critical. It's funny as you were talking and you use that. I love that word signature because like when you go to an art gallery, or if I took a cubist piece of art and put it in front of you, Picasso comes to mind quickly. It might not even be Picasso, but you're leaning already that way because of his signature, that period of his artwork, or a Van Gogh. Again, when you look at a Van Gogh painting, you sort of know it's him, just because of his signature and that imprint that's left in your mind. So no different with companies and brands. I believe I agree with you. The importance of it is massive, more so now than ever before, with visual search being that huge and only getting bigger. So what's our response to this? Now what? Now what do we do? So we understand this. Jim, what are a few ways that a product brand can get more visual search ready for what's happening already?
Sure. Well, other than the obvious, and just having, like Kelly just said, having consistent images, you want to make sure that your brand is there, but not too much in your face, but just natural. But what we find, I think, especially in B2B businesses, is their images are not named properly. So it's harder to search. It's harder for the bots to pick that up. If your image is 1234 JPEG, it doesn't know that it's Adidas Zombies or whatever the hell, right? So
you feeling some kind of way about these zombies?
I'm gonna have to buy them as soon as we get done today. So anyway,
there's a birthday coming up, I guess.
No, it's just a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday?
Yeah. But anyway.
I like that. We could coin it.
I like it. It's Wednesday. Okay, next Wednesday I'll be asking, what are you buying this week, Jim?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so, the technical side of it is making sure that the meta tags are set up properly, that the descriptions are set up properly, and the titles are set up properly for those images. So that way, when the bots are searching, it'll come up. It's not, you don't want to rely on just great imagery. You got to make sure that the technical side is done well and done properly. And if you do that, you have a much better chance of showing up for that type of search.
Oh, like for service brands, how do things like vehicle wraps or branded uniforms or storefront signage, how do they help with discovery?
For service brands, to me, the things that you described are physical assets, right? So think, again, I'm going through my vending machines. I had went to get some logos so that when we show up, people know who we are. And it's really important because we could get some referral-based business that way. Like, if people seeing us, they see our logoed shirts, for instance, we come in, now they know the name of our actual vending company. We're not just the vending people. And our unique difference is that we're partially due to how much money we put into it. We're the ones sourcing it, right? So
right.
we're truly owner-based. So we're
founders.
Yeah. But when I ordered them, I remember the company that I had called, they were like, you should get a magnet. And I was like, really? They're like, if you can't do the wrap, having a magnet, again, that's my brand. So think vehicle wraps, vehicle magnets, uniforms, signage. They are a part of your discoverability. You have to think beyond branding. So even when you do that, if you're doing a magnet, put a QR code on it. Versus putting it up on a billboard that people are flying by, like where people are stopped. Think about it. When will you see my magnet? When we're probably stopped in Atlanta traffic and you're like, oh yeah, we don't have a vending machine in our office. It's always empty. Let me snap that, right? And I'm going to give them a call. And so now they're part of your discoverability. Visual search tools can now start to recognize your logo, your telephone number. And it's another place of trust validation. It's the same address. It's the same telephone number. Oh, this is the same company. And somebody found it somewhere and not where I was expecting it to. It's a signal, right? Okay. So businesses need to spend time making sure that their branding is readable, consistent, and search connected, meaning, okay, if I'm searching for it, thinking about how might my people search for this, right? So you just want to make sure you have the key information. People are no longer typing in www. So don't even put that on a visual. Yeah. Again, use your QR code. Okay. Make sure that you have your Google, make sure that whatever QR code matches your Google business profile. And then same thing with the social, is about consistency. So if somebody snaps that picture, it has to be tied to your search. And then it's another way to make sure that you're not invisible.
Okay. So if I use a QR code on let's say I have a van and I'm a mechanic or an electrician and I have a QR code on my van, are you finding that if I snap that QR code, what comes up on my phone? Is it different for different businesses depending on their target market? Like, is the website every time that comes up, or is it something specific depending on the business?
It better tie into whatever your upstream message is, John.
Right. Okay.
So that's the beauty of it. You know that this QR code is going to be on this sign that's going to be on your magnet. So think through, what does the end user want? Probably the homepage is good for that. But same thing if you're doing mailers, which is still viable. If you were doing mailers, you had a lot of content to give them the context that they need. So you should have warmed them up a little bit more that they don't need to be on your homepage. It should be on a landing page that's very consistent with this. So for example, let's talk about the Sambes. If Jim had seen a flyer come in that say Sambes 20% off, and he clicks the QR code, and now he's somewhere that doesn't mention the 20% off, Jim's going to be frustrated.
Yeah.
So just
For sure.
it has to be consistent.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Let me know if you have that 20%.
Hey, Jim, I was looking up Samba while Kelly was talking quickly. I'm not sure, but I think it's Brazilian. It's the Samba. It's, that dance, the music, the dance. So okay, I think,
They're indoor soccer shoes, but the Sambes.
Oh, Sambes are different.
Have a thicker sole.
Oh.
And who knew, right?
Who knew?
But, yeah. And then there's another one that's even thicker.
Oh, wow.
I won't even consider.
You're becoming an expert. This is good.
Who knew, right?
A question for both you guys. So what are some of the quick ways to test that you're actually showing up on visual search today? What kind of things are the best ways to check it out for your organization if you're not already?
Well, I think the easiest thing would be just to, take a picture of your product kind of in the wild, not in the wild. So that way, it has context like we talk about, and see then if it picks it up and it'll go to that particular product. You know what I mean? So if you see somebody with red lipstick and you're able to take a picture of that or whatever, that it can understand that, or the Sambes that it picks it up and it goes to the right link, then you know that it's working. You can't just assume that it's that product with a white background. That's not going to be natural, right? So you want it natural, so that way it picks it up that way.
And Kelly, any thoughts on that as well? Like, what are people doing to just test?
Yeah, no. I think Jim has pretty much covered it there. Test, you got to test.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are sometimes afraid of what the answer is, but if somebody's figured it out, why not you? And if they figured it out and you haven't, you're probably missing out on some revenue, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about voice search. So people are talking about, Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant, and so forth. And, when they use voice searches, they want an answer. I mean, hopefully the faster, the better. So that means the way you phrase things and the way your content is presented matters more than ever before. Now that you're going to be exposed on a voice search as well. So Kelly, where are you seeing voice search show up in client or customer behavior these days?
Yeah, right now I think voice is showing up in, for the most part, local searches and like task-based requests. Think what's like Jim when he gets to his beach destination, tell me about this new restaurant.
Right.
He's going to want, like, that's local. It's hyper local, I think. Think task-based. How do I get from point A to point B? What hours are you working? How do I do this? Quick comparisons. It's especially common, obviously, when people are driving or multitasking or just honestly do not feel like typing, right? So like you're in a car now, and I don't know if your cars are like that. Even I could get a text and the car is like, you want me to read it to you? Absolutely.
Yep.
Or like, I think multitasking makes a lot of sense there. If business isn't prepared for that type of query, they're missing out because their customers are at what I think is their most decisive moment. So if the answer is your company, you need to figure out how to show that answer to that individual.
How about you, Jim? When's the last time you asked your phone something instead of actually typing out the question? Do you
Usually
use it?
it's when someone asks me a question like, hey, what's the temperature, or what, or what's the weather supposed to be like this weekend? And I'll just pick up my phone and, hey, Siri. Waiting for my phone to turn on now. But that's what I'll do. And I'm like, and I usually do it in a smart ass type way, because it's like whoever just asked me the question could do that themselves, right? but I do it that way, and I notice I do that a lot. Like you said, something open. What are the hours? How do I get there? Those kind of things, and it's just so much easier than typing it in. And I can't. Typing on a phone for me is, I don't know what it is, but I always misspell. I always have to start over. So at least saying it happens a lot. I get my answer faster, let's say.
I mean, my friends of mine who basically, when they talk about this subject, they basically just say it's the kids that are using it now, especially the really, really young ones. They don't type anything. They just talk to their phone. But recently I went on a trip with a good friend of mine and his brother. Just the three of us, road trip to Cooperstown. We all wanted to see the Hall of Fame, baseball's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And throughout the early part, I figured it out afterwards, but the one brother who was in the passenger seat kept leaning over all the time and whispering stuff. And I figured, he's probably just talking to his wife and it's none of our business. And he doesn't want us to hear the conversation and whatnot. But I found out he was doing exactly that. He was actually doing voice searches all throughout the ride there, because it was about a 2 or 3 hour ride. Yeah. So he was scoping out the place, where we're going to eat, what are some of the things that we can do, activities around there, sights to see, all that stuff. So when we got there, he had this whole list of things that we were going to do that night, and I figured out, okay, that's what he's been doing. So, and this guy's in his. Is it mid to late 60s? So he's not young by any means, and he's adopted voice as the only thing he does now. He goes, I rarely type into my phone now. He just uses voice because it's that accurate. An important way to get found is voice. So let's talk about a little bit of the so what. So Jim, if a business doesn't have clear, concise answers, what's the risk now from a voice search perspective?
Yeah, if they don't have the proper content and context for that, they're just going to be passed over. You know what I mean? They're not going to be someone that's served up as an option. It's that simple. And we talk about that conversational aspect of search now, no matter how you're doing it. And so if you're not writing your content to that, that's what you're going to run into. You're just going to be passed over.
Okay, and Kelly, like from when voice assistants or any AI tool when they're pulling answers, what's influencing what gets surfaced, like what gets shown?
Yeah, so it's a few things that influence it, and none of it is accidental. Is what I think is important for everybody to understand. Structured data matters. If we go back to websites, and I know we spend a lot of time talking about that, I would say go back and look at our fundamentals on websites, and is the baby ugly, and understanding those things. Because if your website isn't telling search tools what to do and where you are in clear terms, it's going to skip you.
So you use the phrase structured data. So what are some obvious examples of structured data?
Meta titles, meta tags, different schema, things that you should trust the professionals or somebody inside your organization to do. If you're a leader, they should know. They know. But if you don't have structure, you need to talk to somebody who can get that structure in there. If you're like, I'm not sure, it probably isn't. You probably need an audit. The other thing that you want to look at is and I have 3 more. One would be Google Business Profile. It's huge.
Yeah,
right? The first places that assistants are pulling from, especially from local searches. The third one to me is going to be reviews. Reviews really help more than you think. It's not just about ratings. It's about words that might be in the review that you're looking for. It's about reviews along other platforms other than just Google. Like what are your Yelp reviews looking like? What are your Facebook reviews looking like? They help a lot. And the last one is around clarity. And so if your website like buries basic information and fancy, like a lot of people are just like, oh, I'm a bespoke, da 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 da. Nobody, no,
I still don't know what that means.
I have a few clients that, like that.
Exactly. So if you're thinking about like, what does this mean for your business? Like kind of the so what that you mentioned, it means if your information isn't structured right, you're not even going to make the list. You're not going to make the list. You could be the best option in town. Again, I'm thinking about Jim again, going to this restaurant that's new. They're just probably dog paddling to keep above water, right? But if Jim starts to look for it and is looking for information and it's not clear, it's going to be skipped. And here's the big deal. Voice search isn't about browsing.
No.
It's about deciding.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the lowest hanging fruit you're going to find. So if you don't show up for voice, you're losing revenue, period. In the story.
Yeah. They want an answer. I agree. And the things like in your data or content, I guess, FAQs fall into that category of structured data or charts, anything that makes, I guess, easy to crawl kind of.
It does and it doesn't. You can put FAQs on your site and that's good. What's better is the algorithms are looking for a certain schema for your FAQs.
Okay.
So getting somebody who understands that and putting that in the format that the algorithms want is what's important as well, equally. The content is important, but the schema showing that it's structured makes it trust you more.
Got it. Okay. That's important. Jim, I'm going to toss you like more of a high level, 30,000 foot question, but voice is a game changer. I think we're clear about that. But like, why is it important for businesses to really get a handle on how to deal with this right now and how to make sure they get found in voice? What do you see as the opportunity?
Well, we've talked about the evolution of search and how it's gone from finding something to answering a question or solving a problem. And this just kind of fits in with that, right? It's the same thing we talked about with AI search. It's solving a problem. And so this voice is the same sort of situation. So you have to have your content answer those questions in a conversational way using long tail keywords or more data, more context around it. So that way, if you're in a particular location or looking for a particular color of lipstick or whatever it is, the more detail and information you put in that on the website, in that answer, the better chance you are of being found, the better chance of you being served up as the best solution to the query, the question. So it's just an evolution of going into AI, going into social, going into all of those things, including voice, giving that context that allows the algorithm to pick it up and say, this is the best.
Piggybacking on that, I know, Kelly, you've talked about this concept of long tail keywords now becoming more important. When you're using voice as the context of our discussion right now, it's really more about conversational structures when you're putting your content in now. Is it you have to write it in a way that people speak? Like, is that what makes the difference for voice search, bots that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what Jim said was super important. Yeah. The truth is, like, when your content doesn't match how people talk, you're actually breaking the connection. So voice assistants and AI tools prioritize answers that sound natural. We talked about like bespoke, right? Like who's saying that? Nobody's asking that question. And what they're trying to do is to give the user what the user wants. So let's just say if your site says residential HVAC efficiency diagnostics because somebody told you it sounded good, your customers might be asking, why is my AC bill so high? Right? So you're never going to meet that bar of answering that question because you're so high in the clouds.
Yes.
And so what that mismatch is going to mean is that the person who answered, why is my HVAC bill, my AC bill so high, is going to get the answer, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't sound relevant. They do. And the risk is that now you're going to lose trust. Like how trustworthy is somebody that's using flowery words if they can't solve my issue?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm never going to see your brand. I'm going to move on to the one that literally speaks my language, literally now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Why is my AC bill so high? Your AC bill is high because of 5 reasons. You could this, and this.
Right.
Straight
And
answers. Yeah.
driving me down the tunnel. I'm going to click to get more information.
Yeah, exactly. So I love this. I love this change actually because it's straight answers to the point. I think it's refreshing actually. So we've talked about a little. Yeah, it's natural. Exactly. Yeah. So we've talked about the what in this category. We've talked about the so what. Now let's talk about now what. So Kelly, what would you say are 2 content updates that have recently happened that would help a site become more voice ready? So what are some ideas that people can take away?
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you 2, and then I'll make an offer for anybody that's unsure. First is you want to make sure you have structured data. Make sure that the schema markups actually tell the search engines what exactly each part of your site is. And I don't expect necessarily everybody listening to know what a schema or a schema markup is. That's our job. But if you're not sure, then you need to make sure. And actually, I'll just say we do provide audits. So if this is something that you're just not sure of and you want somebody to have a second look, you can go to areyouinvisibleonline.com and we'll have a place where you just shoot us an email in a form saying you'd like an audit, a content audit for structure, for voice, and we'll be happy to do that. The second is, I would say, again, write for clarity. Short, natural sounding, answers to questions, to common questions. Think FAQ style. It doesn't need to be flowery, but I'm going to go back to something that Seamus said in the episode. It also needs to have that edge to it, right? Like if the way that you determine if my AC bill is too high is what every single other person is saying, I'm not sure you're going to get found there. I mean, it's good, but is it good enough? Like, do you do something? Do you offer something to help people in that regard? And so just making sure that your answers are key. And if possible, sometimes it is what it is. I just think about my accounting clients, for instance. If somebody is asking for when are my taxes due, they just want to know April 15th. They don't want to know, like sometimes you're not going to get an edge. Sometimes it is just answering that question.
Yeah, but that's a great point. Having that edge or having that differentiation has always been important in any kind of marketing. So for our listeners, whenever you find an opportunity to make yourself stand out, take it. That's so important in an AI environment going forward. Jim, how can real customer questions turn into voice content? And I think Kelly touched on that a little bit as well.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've had some of my clients do is they'll take all of their Google Business profile reviews or other reviews, and they'll drop it into AI, and they'll say, what are the key things that you're hearing here? What are the things that come up most often? And then they turn that into an FAQ. And one of the things you can do is include those reviews in there, right? Whether it's a short blog you write or even FAQs, when you use user-generated content within that builds your authority. And now it's not you saying it, it's your customer saying it.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to figure out, what people are talking about you. I mean, we talk about Googling or doing an AI search of your person or your business. And that's another way to do it, is just take a look at your reviews and seeing positive and negatives, what people are saying. A, fix what you're not doing right, obviously, but B, then that's what people are asking about. Make sure you lean into that.
Yeah.
I think that's important. It's interesting that you said that, Jim. It just reminds me. I remember when we first started our digital marketing agency, we did that. And I was actually looking for just a word cloud kind of a thing. And I started to analyze. And what was interesting, it will also tell you the story of what your information gain is, or what your edge. You might be doing something that's just totally natural to you, and your customers value it at a really high rate. And now you can say, I'm the IT guy that picks up the phone. Something, something, it could be something that simple, but also something, if it's what people are valuing, kind of looking outside of your four walls makes sense. So I think that's a great piece of advice, Jim.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe an obvious question, but I think it's important to just state it. What's a simple test to check your voice visibility today?
Yeah, it's exactly what Jim said about visual. Is go ahead and ask Siri a question and see if you show up. Now, and I'm going to take it a step further. You want to look in that. You want to look at all the places that people could potentially find you. Then here's a good use case for AI. I would take, if you're not there, be sad just a little bit, but then look and see who is there. And then take their information and feed that into chat or whatever your AI LLM model is that you should be paying at least $20 a month for. But feed it into there and just say that emotional prompt that Seamus kind of talked about before. It's really effective. I asked Siri to show me the best whatever nearby, and my name didn't come up. It makes me really sad. And so tell me, I want to show up. Why did my business not come up? And it'll tell you. And then now you have a game plan of give me tasks that I need to do to make sure that I'm showing up on voice.
Yeah.
And then that we also have some tools too in our toolkit of people, like we have there are voice search tools out there that you can actually use for your business to get found on search.
Yeah. It's a great point, because I use it all the time. When I don't get the answer that I was hoping for, I always ask AI. It's there. Why not? So why didn't I? Give me some tips as to how I can get there. And AI is pretty forthcoming when it comes to that. So that's I guess it sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people don't do it. Okay, let's switch to the next gear here, and let's talk about social search. So platforms like TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn are no longer only for content. That's also where a lot of discovery happens. So Kelly, what kind of search behavior are you seeing on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, especially for products and services, in terms of the changes that you're seeing? Because I think we know the more common things that we've seen on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, but things are changing now as AI is forcing this evolution. What are some of the new things you're seeing?
I'm seeing that social platforms are actually become full search on engines. They want to be search engines. Meta announced this, and it's been well over a year, that they will become a search engine. So we are seeing it. It's always been on YouTube. We know that they're the number 2 search engine
Absolutely.
of the world. And people are. I will say too. I thought that when TikTok came out, their marketing was brilliant. TikTok taught me. So like just subliminally, you're like, I want to be taught something. Let me go to TikTok, right? For short content where I can see it. Like you'll see people like search for things like best jeans for short legs. And they're longer tail searches, right? Or like they might ask how to get rid of a cracked iPhone screen. Like these are incredibly specific and often super transactional. So on TikTok, we see people searching for local businesses by hashtags or tag location, like hashtag Atlanta coffee or at your brand name. Could just this is what people are seeing when they're looking for you online. So again, like we talked about, YouTube has been at this for a while. Product reviews, tutorials, comparison, explainer videos. To YouTube, to me, could be super effective for a lot of the B2B players. Like I'll tell you who does a great job of this is Canva. Like Canva has ambassadors and they get their ambassadors, like they'll give them a first peek. Like they just had a big, huge release recently. What they do is they give them first dibs to some of their content. And then they encourage them to share, teach people this. They encourage them to have different competitions, hashtag Canva March, hashtag Canva, like whatever it is, whatever their theme is. And then now you have all this user-generated content where actual users are showing people how to use their product. I think it's huge.
Yeah, creating a community.
Yeah. Amazing. It was funny when you were talking about TikTok. It reminded me of a friend of mine that we've been golfing indoors. It's pretty hard to do that in Canada outdoors for a good chunk of the year. So we've been indoor golfing anyway. He's basically taught himself how to play golf using TikTok, nonstop TikTok tutorials. So I was laughing when you were talking about TikTok because of how good it is at teaching, because I gave him a book that I had read years ago, probably when I was golfing early on in my career. And it was an amazing book. It was written by Seve Ballesteros, who was one of the best golfers way back then, a Spanish golfer. And he talked about everything he did to become an amazing golfer, but it was in a book format. And so his kids were laughing at him because I gave him the book and I said, well, take it home. I think you'll like it. I loved it about 20 years ago. So his kids were laughing at him and saying, Dad, what are you reading? And they looked at the book and they said, there's no diagrams in here. There's nothing that shows you what to do. He said, yeah, I know. He goes, I'm just going to go to TikTok and throw the book away. Because that's where things are nowadays. TikTok can literally teach you how to play golf. It has so many tutorials. And that's where people go to today. I think that's where the impact of social is today. Jim, when it comes to B2B situations, how are B2B buyers using LinkedIn to research or validate before reaching out?
I think what they want to do is they want to validate, they want to connect and make sure that what they think is true, right? So they'll check out their company page on LinkedIn. They'll check out some of the upper management. They'll see if they're posting. They'll see what kind of testimonials are getting, what kind of content they're putting out. Are they putting anything out that is thought leadership? We talk about that a lot with LinkedIn. That's the expectation, is that you become a thought leader. So are they putting things out there that are relevant, that will help them make that decision that, yep, I trust these people? Sometimes they'll see if anyone else they know is connected with them, to see, that brings that credibility and comfort level. It's that user-generated content kind of thing, where if someone else is talking about a brand and you trust that person, then you trust that brand. Understanding, did they come out with new products and new services? That's sometimes the first place they look for it. And And then reputation, like I said, you want to see if they have a good reputation, if they're really engaged. You may want to look at their competitors. A lot of times you'll be able to determine what competitors they have based on some of their posts and stuff. Check those out and see if maybe there's a better mousetrap, so to speak. And just continue to look at that before you pull the trigger. Makes you feel more comfortable. It makes you probably slide down that sales funnel a little bit farther by being comfortable with the people. A lot of times you can get to know somebody, so to speak, get to know somebody just by reading their posts and checking out their LinkedIn profile before you even pull the trigger. So I think that's big. I know a lot of people do that. You'll set up a meeting and all of a sudden you'll get that little thing that said someone looked at your LinkedIn profile.
That's right.
And the next thing you know, you have a meeting with them, right?
Yeah.
That's what people do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. It's just check it out.
Let's move into a little bit. That's a little bit about the what's going on in social media right now. So let's transition to the so what. Kelly, if a consumer brand isn't showing up when people search on TikTok or Instagram, et cetera, what are they really losing out on?
Yeah, my answers might surprise you, but I think that they're missing out on influence, right? So I know we talk about user-generated content, and Jim, you just mentioned that if it's somebody you trust, sometimes I don't even know the person that's telling me that this is a good product, right? It's just that it's somebody that I feel like is other than the client telling me. I feel like they've done if you've done a really good job of understanding your user and having somebody that may or may not be your user, they may be an actor, but they can tell me like, here's a great use case of this. And I'll give you an example of this, and then I'll go back to the so what on it. I remember when we were looking at how to run ads for the olive oil company, we came across a user-generated content of somebody where is somebody camera facing vertical lens, direct on picture. Like, you want to know something that can make your ice cream amazing? Let me tell you, the next time you buy vanilla icing, take this, and I can't remember, maybe it was strawberry infused olive oil or whatever it was, poured it over the top, and she takes a bite and she's like, amazing. Right? And so, like, I don't know her, but I'm like, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
So just kind of thinking about that. And when I sent that to the client, she's like, we do this with popcorn all the time. And I was like, then we should put that out there because people don't know. So now you're moving into, here's the influence, right? Here's somebody who's actually tasting it. You feel like it's scrumptious, like you're thinking about that. So when you're thinking about platforms like TikTok, Instagram, even Pinterest, people aren't just scrolling. They're scrolling with intent. They're typing full-on questions, looking for review, saving content that helps them decide what to buy or what to trust. So to answer your question, if you're not showing up, you're not even going to be considered at all. Sometimes it's higher top of the funnel. When I think about Pinterest, I don't know, Jim, if you did this or if your wife for your basement, but we would use Pinterest to say, this is what we would like to see. Here are some ideas, and feed that over to our designer. Case in point, we have a big screen TV and a wall that supports it, but it's a 100-inch TV. I didn't even know they made these things, but of course my husband did. So rather than just pop that on the wall, we wanted some areas of interest. Like, we didn't want you just to be looking at the wall. And so we started searching for like what would make sense. And so we came across something on Pinterest. It's like this wood application. And we found, I ended up getting samples from probably 4 or 5 different vendors, and I chose one. But if they had not been on Pinterest, they would have exactly what I just described not been in consideration. So if you just, the bottom line to this, to kind of level it out, is social isn't just about engagement anymore. It's a part of your buyer's journey. And if you're not searchable, you're skippable.
Yeah. It's funny, on Instagram years ago when it would be a struggle to get a lot of my clients to even post on Instagram. They would say, really, that's not really for us. My kids are on Instagram. It's not where I want to advertise my business. And nowadays, it's the complete opposite. The amount of business, it's almost a given now that every business definitely wants to influence, to your point, Kelly, it's a big part of their, I guess, authority in the marketplace. It's a location that allows you to build that authority. And so everybody should be taking advantage of it. Jim, on the B2B side of things, so what happens when a founder's or like a leader's LinkedIn doesn't reflect their authority? So a founder, owner, the person who's running the business, when that LinkedIn site doesn't really reflect their authority, what's the impact these days?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that's touchy. I had a client that the CEO had the dreaded blank space for the picture, and no content, not much filled out, and they're a B2B company, and so I had to have that conversation that, oh, by the way, if you're trying to sell B2B and you're the CEO, they're going to look for you. And if they see that, there's a really good chance you're not going to get the business.
Yeah. Right.
Because if you're not engaged, if you're not talking about your products and or services or whatever it is, it's just not going to happen. And so, we as a group have helped people update their LinkedIn profiles and things, especially if you're B2B, to make sure that they are found. But in this case, it was, okay, the first thing we're going to do, I don't want to talk about digital marketing strategy. Let's just get your profile set up properly. And whether you post, it's not like you have to post every day. Just try to post, once a month, once a week, whatever it is.
Right.
But at least be engaged or have somebody do it for you. You know what I mean? Have one of your employees help you out or whatever. But you can't have that blank screen and expect a B2B company to feel comfortable buying from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Agree. On that point, to segue in a bit, Kelly, would you say social search is now truly becoming the new word of mouth in terms of, how do you really understand somebody unless you do the social searches in advance? And how does that change, the way you decide that you trust a brand or don't trust a brand?
Yeah. So as with everything, I would say it depends. I don't think it hurts. But like in some instances, I might not care. I might not. In some, I might not. If depending on what I'm looking for, if I get a good, strong referral, then I'm probably going to go there. But I'm probably, if it's, let's just say in general, it's a brand you're not familiar with, then in my opinion, the answer to your question is absolutely. Not only that, I think it's word of mouth at scale. The difference to me now is that instead of just hearing about your product or a product from just one friend, like I said in that situation, if I'm also then able to see not just this friend, but hundreds of people that I don't know are talking about it right now, then the trust shifts from brand voice to community voice, right? The entire, I hate to say this, but I try not to be on Instagram too much, probably because we do it so much for other customers that I'm not. But when it's interesting, I do have chat groups or I'm hanging out with my friends. And it's interesting to me, like they all know about this one product because the product has done a really good job of describing. Remember, there was luggage that did this over a certain time. It was cool. But basically what I think I'm saying here is that if your brand, and I would probably say newer brand. Not that it doesn't have a place for older brands, because it absolutely does. We've seen people do this in real time that are your brands you wouldn't expect this of. IBM. Think about every relevant company has a social media page. I'm just saying, I think it's more necessary when people don't know your brand, and you need people to show up, especially, I will also say, if you're considered what's a commoditized business, you'd better find a lane to make it not commoditized, or make yours the thing that everybody wants to have.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Would you guys say that, people trust social even more now than even a company's website? Has it shifted to that degree?
I don't know that. I don't know. I guess it just depends, and I guess you'd have to ask. I think it might depend on I don't know. It might depend on the brand user. The end user. I mean, Jim, I don't know. Because I'm just thinking, like, I know my daughter will take a journey that she never goes to a website. I don't think I would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think, when you read reviews and you look at things on social, there's also that concern that user may be a part of the company. You know what I mean? There's that paranoia, or that question that sometimes is too good to be true. And so you wonder if there's a little bit of vote stuffing, so to speak,
Yeah.
And so I think people, you have to kind of read between the lines. And I think websites are still obviously very important, and the content on there. Now, adding user-generated content there, if it's legitimate, I think helps you, obviously. And same thing on social. You want to make sure that you have kind of that combination of both, so that you keep your brand, because you have to control your brand as much as you can today, and that's very, very difficult with social media and with the power of the consumer. So you need to control it as best you can and steer it as best you can. So you don't want to just rely wholly on your users or your raving fans, so to speak. But I think you have to have a combination of both.
Yeah. I think it's both too. It's funny. I had an interesting conversation with one of my clients who's a personal injury lawyer, and like, I still go to the website first. I want to know where that company stands on certain things, but I will always validate what they said on their website with. So what are all your users saying? What are your clients saying? What are your customers saying? What are the reviews saying? And does it validate what you said on your website? If the two match, then I'll move ahead with the conversation. But this conversation I had with my client, the personal injury lawyer, he says it's so difficult after you finish a case to get people to leave reviews after the case, even though we hit a home run, like in a personal injury situation, it could be $1 million payout, and the person's thrilled and excited. But they move on after that. It's been a long haul typically before you get to that payout, and they're tired. You ask them to do it, they forget. You don't want to be a pest, all that stuff. And he says to me, and how do you get these, Toronto personal injury lawyers with 1,000 reviews? There must be a fake review outfit out there that's out there generating all these fake reviews. And how can you even trust them anymore? If there's I have, he said, 20 good reviews, and they're all solid, all fives. And I said, I know, you've earned them. He said, yeah, okay, I have. He said, how did that other company get 1,000? And so there are people getting skeptical about reviews these days and whether they're legitimate, especially with restaurants, actually. Some of them think it's all their relatives calling in. I'm not calling in, typing in fake reviews. And there's these, he says to me, there must be these fake review companies out there. That's all they do. They generate fake reviews because they know how important they are these days. Anyway, I digressed a little bit there because I know it's an important issue, and I think reviews are more important than ever before.
Yeah.
So we'll see where that goes in the future. I want to switch to the now what. We've talked a lot about now social and what's happening in the marketplace with it, and a little bit of the so what. But now what? So, Jim, what are maybe three low effort ways to boost visibility using social search?
Yeah, I think the first one, obviously, is making sure that every line on your profile, every organization, the position, blah, 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 all that stuff is filled out. A lot of times people just kind of fly through the profile itself and they don't fill it out completely. And when you do that, those are there for a reason. That's
Right.
what they're searching for. That's what the algorithm searches for when they're searching for a product or service or a company name, whatever it is. So you want to make sure that that's optimized, completely filled out. The other thing is to make sure that you're using the keywords. And a lot of times it'll even allow you to put keywords in, but you're using keywords in your captions, in everything you write about. You're using keywords in your hashtags, in your mentions. All those things help drive more exposure to your brand by using those. And then we've talked about this a lot, but videos are really strong now, short videos. And so you want to make sure that you're doing videos, putting text in the videos and those kind of things. That's what's popular. And that's what is what the algorithms are pulling up when people are doing searches is more video content. Obviously, we talk about that with TikTok and stuff and YouTube, it's obvious. But using those videos really help drive versus your competition. So I would think those are the three things.
Yeah.
Anything else to add to the list Jim just went through? Kelly, is that pretty exciting in terms of what makes pages? So there's profiles, our Google Business Profile and so forth, but other pages on websites and so forth. Are there other things that people should be looking at to make them more searchable on social?
Yeah, no, I feel like what Jim said was spot on. Like the use of the clear keywords, the descriptions, your bio, your about section. What I would add is not just saying what you do, but how you do it. So let me give you an example. So instead of saying we print shirts, and while that's clear and direct and I understand exactly what you do, it might be better if you said custom t-shirts for events. Like be specific.
Yeah.
And then make sure that your handles, hashtags, and captions are consistent, not just on that platform, but every platform. So if you could, sometimes the name you run into, somebody has already claimed that name and there's nothing you can do about it, but try to stay as much as you can close to that because it just makes it easier for you to be found. One cheat, I would say, for LinkedIn specifically, it's an easy win. Somebody can take this and do this now. If you have a company page and if you don't create one, I'm talking for smaller businesses. If maybe you just have your profile up there, you just haven't gotten around to doing a LinkedIn page for your business, go ahead and create one. But for everybody, if you have a LinkedIn page, you may or may not know this, but you can invite, I think it's up to 200 people to follow you every single month. So you get credits to be able to do this. Mm-hmm. So either you or someone on your team should be sending invites. It's a low effort. People generally will follow. And that way you can start to remember where I said, now you got one person following you. I think it means something if I go to your page and you only have 10 followers on your LinkedIn page. I'm going to think maybe you're a smaller outfit than you might be. Don't forget alt tagging your texts for tagging for images, especially for your Pinterest and Instagram pictures. Mm-hmm. Those little metadata really help in getting you found by voice and visual search.
Yeah, that's a great point. One thing I wanted to talk about, because we talked about a lot, there's a lot of work happening here to make all this happen. So everybody with their marketing teams, whether they're teams of 1, 2, 3, 4, let's face it, even with AI helping us with that work these days, there's still a lot to do. Jim, any tips for our audience regarding how to repurpose some of the content so you create it once and make it work for you in multiple different ways?
Sure. First of all, I mean, what we do a lot is we'll write blogs, a long form blog, and then we'll break that up into social media posts. So you're not having to write content constantly. So that's one thing you can do is repurpose your content in different formats. You can set up templates so that way, it builds your brand by using the exact same look.
Yep.
A/B test and make sure it actually is working, but at the same time, using that template and then dropping in content, dropping in an image, dropping in a video, whatever, that really helps. And then being able to schedule out so you're not, oh, shoot, I have to do it today, I have to do it tomorrow, I have to do it the next day, but schedule out a week or a month in advance. If you're able to do that, that'll definitely save time. It's not really repurposing, but it allows you, you can schedule it all out, and you can repurpose between different social media platforms. Just be cognizant that TikTok is different than LinkedIn, obviously, but repurposing that way you can do as well. So those are a couple that I would think that would at least help be more efficient and effective.
Awesome.
And don't be afraid to, I'll just add one, don't be afraid to repost the same thing.
Yeah.
Like if you had content that went well, or if you have organic content that went well on Instagram, for instance, considering making it an ad.
Yeah.
That's a great point as well. Okay, so that wraps up the social section. I think we've pretty much exhausted it for now, and it's still evolving. So we'll get back to it in future episodes. Let's do a quick blind spot audit on, basically a number of different areas and where companies perhaps might have a blind spot, might actually be missing something. So I'm just going to name a number of different areas, and I'd like both of you guys, Kelly and Jim, to comment on these, on where perhaps companies are missing out on opportunities. Let's go with the first one. Google business profiles. We've talked about them quite a bit in the past. What do you think is, when it comes to search and visibility in this new AI impacted world, what's often missing or underused?
Yeah, so for Google Business Profile, I think people finally do understand it's something that you need for your business to be found. So if you definitely claim it. But once it's been claimed, what I think that a lot of people are ignoring is this thought process of what services do you offer or what products do you offer. You can put that right out there so that people don't have to go to your business if they don't want to, meaning your business website. If they don't want to, they can get information right from Google. I think the other piece of that is once you fill out those services, you want to have complete, well thought out Q&As. Because the reason that's important is because this is where search assistants, voice search assistants, and map results will pull really quick answers.
Yeah, great point. I think one of the things that I see is when you pull up a Google Business Profile and the images are the map, and it'll just be a map of where they're located, and maybe another picture. And it's like, no, you need to update those because and use the proper titling and meta tags and all those things. But if you're a service company, put your services in an image. If you're a product company, put your products in the image and make sure that they're tagged properly, because that, again, will help with visual search. So it's important to make sure that the images are updated. The other thing that I think is important is making sure that you connect your social media posts. We talked about social search, and having your social media posts and links on your Google Business Profile will help create your authority and drive it all together.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Great points. Let's move to number 2 here. YouTube search. What are brands doing wrong these days when it comes to YouTube search, considering it's the second biggest search engine in the world?
Yeah, I'll say my thing is I think they don't pay attention to the content that they're talking about in the video and making sure that that is clearly defined in the titles and the descriptions. Sometimes they try to be clever and when they're clever, then people don't. It becomes too generic. The
Yeah.
5 craziest whatevers, as opposed to giving it a little bit more context and content. So I think that's one thing that once you are popular, once you have that authority, then you can get a little bit more creative with that information. But especially at the beginning, you've got to make sure that YouTube can actually find you and want to serve you up.
I can't overemphasize what Jim talked about enough. Titles are huge. So the second thing that I would say is providing people with a transcript and cutting those into chapters, like spending the time, like sometimes transcripts, software that you could use to do the transcripts are good. Sometimes they have your name spelled wrong. So just take the time to go in. I know, Jim, you use Descript a lot as a tool to help with that. And so there are other tools to help you with the transcript, but missing out on them is, to me, a missed opportunity for visibility, because it's helping you to aid in that voice and visual search when you do both.
I'm going to toss one in here that I discovered recently when I was listening to a gentleman who started his career on YouTube with websites, but discovered this is about the length of your videos on YouTube. He found that he was doing shorts because he figured that's whatever people think. A lot of people have attention deficit, I guess, and so they have to keep their videos short. But he found that when he started making his videos a lot longer, like I'm talking like 5, 10, maybe even 15-minute videos, he started losing the people who were just looking at his videos to kick the tires and just get a sense, as opposed to the people who really cared and really were going to become potential clients. And so obviously you need to understand your target market and your target personas, find out what they really want. And you don't want people just, starting a conversation, calling you, and then hanging up the phone and moving on, because really that's not what they're really there for. So the length of video, I think, is something people need to look at.
Yep.
Voice. Let's go to the next one. Voice search optimization. What's being overlooked on most websites today when it comes to voice search optimizing?
I'll take that.
Okay.
So for me, it's not understanding voice assistants and what they're pulling from. So what do I mean by that? Or if you're trying to show up for Google Assistant, it's primarily going to use your Google business profile and your website schema. For Siri, it's going to lean heavily on Yelp, Apple Maps, and TripAdvisor. For Alexa, it actually leans on Bing, Yelp, and other third-party partners. So
that's huge.
Yelp becomes very important in this algorithm. So you can still show up on Google Assistant, but you might not show up on Siri and Alexa if you haven't prioritized your Yelp profile. And also, they are pulling in those reviews. TripAdvisor has reviews. Yelp has reviews. So Google reviews are not the only game in town. So best practice to me is, number 1, claim and update your Google business profile. Number 2, optimize your website for the schema and the structured data that we've talked about over the past few episodes. Claim your Yelp, Apple Maps, Google, in your Bing places profiles, and also encourage reviews on multiple platforms.
Great answer.
Cool.
Jim, anything on that?
I would add that what I've noticed, in fact, I have a couple of clients, newer clients, that I've realized let's face it, 99% of the people probably are on their mobile device when they're doing a voice search, right? And when they do, and they do a search, and then you go to the website and it's not optimized for mobile, or the pictures are blurry, or things just don't match up right. It's just a bad representation of your business. So you need to make sure that your website is optimized for mobile, that all the information that you want them to see and where you want them to go is very easy to follow along. And so that's the biggest thing, is just making sure that your mobile website is optimized for that. So when they do the voice, they go right to where they need to go.
Excellent. When it comes to visual image searches and Google Lens and things like that, so what small detail hurts people's discoverability?
I think the big thing is if you use blurry images, if it's not really sharp images, that's one thing. And you want to make sure that it's branded, and you want to make sure it's on point. If you use a generic picture, if you use something that really doesn't have that context, like we've talked about in the past, behind it, it just loses its power. It doesn't have the same punch as if it's in use or if it's in the wild, as I said before.
Right.
You want to make sure that really helps to put it into context.
Yeah, I think your point about visual blurriness, the algorithms really need clarity and uniqueness when they're looking through that, not just for Google Lens. We're also seeing it inside of the GPT, the generative image solutions. They need to know what it is that you're looking for to even decipher anything. I would also say the other thing that's being ignored is that alt text labeling what exactly it is.
Yeah, that's important. When it comes to LinkedIn company pages, where do you guys find that there's a true trust gap occurring? What's causing perhaps that trust gap to appear? You talked a little bit about it earlier, I think.
Yeah, no, and Jim did talk about it on a profile perspective as well. That applies to your business. A lot of companies aren't taking the time that they need to make it complete. There's the banners don't look on brand, or there's no banner at all. They haven't. Every time you post, you can take a post. If a lot of people like a post, you can actually pin that to the top. And I just think that when you're not spending time in your B2B business on LinkedIn, optimizing it and posting just in general, you're missing out on B2B credibility.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and I know, Kelly, you've mentioned this in the past too, but when you go on someone's business profile and they have like 3 followers, you start to question, is this company, what's this company all about? So you mentioned it before, but inviting people to follow your business page, your company page is important, and it takes a little time, and if you have somebody that can do it for you, that's great. But you have, I think, 200 credits a month. So doing that and just making that a little thing, a little task to do each month, just keep inviting people, and invite your friends first. Hopefully get followers from that. But doing that really helps build that credibility. So when someone goes to your company page, then it's meaningful.
Yeah. When it comes to the AI search tools that you're most familiar with, like ChatGPT, Perplexity, even Claude, what do you think gets ignored, but really matters? So here's where the opportunities sort of are.
Yeah. So I think we've talked about the shift in our podcast to search everywhere.
Yes.
And search everywhere is really going to become the standard, especially, brands. I think brands and businesses don't understand that for AI, it really does favor widely distributed information. So I know a lot of people think, okay, I can get an AI to do everything. Well, AI is expecting you to be everywhere. So if you're well linked. So when you're doing things, making sure that if you're posting something, I see this all the time on Instagram, and I get why people do it. A lot of people will take their Instagram and say, visit Linktree. I think what's better is to have them visit a landing page on your website that looks like Linktree. Like, why are you sending it to some third-party server to
You
serve
lost control.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think rather than do Linktree, a huge cheat is make a page that's not visible on your meaning it's not in your search navigation. But if somebody has that link, they land on your own internal link tree, so to speak.
It used to be that everyone that you Google yourself, see what comes up, right? Well, now, are you doing it on AI? You should.
Yeah.
For yourself or your company, you want to know what AI knows about you or what they don't know about you. And then what they don't know about you, kind of lean into and figure out why. But a business that isn't found on AI needs to figure out why, because we've talked about it. It used to be 90+% of the people start a search on Google, and now it's down to 60% with Google, or 60 something percent, and 20 or 30% is on AI. So if you're not there, you're missing out on the 30%, right? So you have to make sure that you understand what you need to do to be there and then get there.
Yeah.
And that's frankly where we can help with that, because there's certain tools and tactics that we can use to help customers be found on AI, just like we do for Google.
Yeah. On that point, I think another area where both Kelly and Jim can help is something else that I see on AI that perhaps doesn't get used as often by everyone. But there are plenty of opportunities, and I know both of you guys have done this plenty of times. You'll create actual mini GPTs to help you get stuff done faster, more efficiently. There's a little complexity involved to doing that, but creating your own GPT to make your life a lot easier is something you should be looking at and taking advantage of on AI. So to wrap up this section, I wanted to ask you, if you had to pick one blind spot that businesses should audit right now, what would it be?
Yeah, for me, I'm going to say it has to be content. Everything goes back to content being king. So I think everyone should start with a content audit, from your website. It should be holistic. Honestly, it's what content is showing up on all platforms. And then from there, you need a content strategy. You can't haphazardly, you can't come in Monday saying, this is what we're going to do. It's a recipe for failure. Interestingly, though, I wouldn't suggest anybody create a year-long content plan. You might have an overall strategy, but then that plan needs to be performed quarterly. And the reason that I say that is that things are changing too quickly.
Okay.
So you could have an overall strategy, and then tomorrow, something hits, and you gotta stay. Recency and relevancy is going to be important, but you should have a quarterly planned and an overall strategy. So for me, it's content.
Yeah. What do you think, Jim?
Yeah, I agree with you, Kelly. I think that's huge. The only thing I would add to that is making sure that technically your website is sound, because if you have that content but you don't have the technical side, the meta tags, the alt tags, all the descriptions and the titles and all those things that the bots can actually scrape for and search for, including AI. If you don't have that, you can have the best content in the world, but you're not found. So I think that combination of having legitimate content with context that's relevant and, like you said, and timely, but making sure that the website is set up properly so that can be found, that's what you need.
Okay. And I would add one to this question, just to complement what you guys are saying. With AI and its impact, there's so much more content that's out there that is tending to look the same. Because let's face it, people are smart. They know their industry. They're asking all the same questions. They know what their customers are asking. They're feeding that through AI, and AI is giving a lot of similar answers. So for your brand to stand out in this sea of sameness that AI may be causing, depending on whatever client industry you're in, you're going to have to do that audit and look for every opportunity to differentiate yourself and really make your authority stand out in the marketplace. And I think companies try to do that naturally, but more so now than ever before when the search, as we just said, is everywhere, including all these social platforms that we talked about. So to wrap things up, I think we need to just optimize. You need to optimize where people are really looking, really understand your customers better than ever before, and stop relying on search habits that perhaps don't exist as much anymore. They're still there, but maybe not as much. And so you have to be cognizant on how to adjust accordingly. So I'll make that a wrap, and looking forward to seeing everybody again at our next episode. Thanks, everybody, for your comments today. That was great.
Thank you for tuning in to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Be sure to share it with other business owners who might find it helpful. If you want to dig deeper, contact us at ruinvisibleonline.com. That's capital letter R, capital letter U, followed by invisibleonline.com. Or message us on our LinkedIn business profile with the same title, Are You Invisible Online? The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and may or may not reflect the official policy or position of WSI Corporate. Always consult a qualified digital marketing expert before making significant changes to your online strategy. Until next time, keep connecting with the people who matter most to your business and join us for our next episode.